You know that feeling when you have this brilliant, really complex idea for an automated system, but then you just hit a wall trying to figure out how to actually build it? Well, today, we're going to dig into the Axiom Studio Agent Builder. It's a tool designed to take those big ideas and turn them into real, working systems, all on one visual canvas. Let's get right into it.
Okay, wow. First look, that is a lot to take in, right? You've got apps, infrastructure, pipelines. Everything looks like it's wired into everything else. So the million-dollar question is, how in the world do you manage something like this without getting totally lost in the weeds? The secret, it turns out, is to start with one single piece at a time.
And that brings us right to the heart of the whole system, the visual workflow canvas. The best way to think about it is like your own digital workshop. It's the main workbench where you design, build, and connect all the logic for your automated agents. And here it is in the flesh. What you're looking at is a full agent called a document processor. Every single box, every line you see is a step in its process. Just imagine, it could grab an invoice you upload, pull out all the key details, check them against a database, and then file it away, all on its own. This is where those abstract ideas become a concrete process. The idea behind all this is actually super simple. You build these complex workflows not by banging out thousands of lines of code, but by piecing them together visually. You literally just drag components onto the canvas, drop them where you want, and then draw lines to connect the logic. It's kind of like building with digital Legos, really. So, the whole thing starts with your building blocks, which you can see right over here on the left. You've got your triggers. These are the events that kick everything off. You know, like a new file getting uploaded. And then you've got tools. These are all the actions your agent can actually do, like sending an email or running a database query. Okay, so we've got our triggers and our tools, but what's the real magic here? What gives these building blocks their power? Well, that's where things get really interesting. It's the combination of custom code and powerful AI.
You basically have two different kinds of superpowers you can use. On one side, you've got custom code nodes. You use these when you need absolute precision and control, like calculating a very specific tax rate or formatting data in a really particular way. And on the other side, you've got AI nodes, which bring intelligent decision-making into the mix for stuff like figuring out the sentiment of a customer review or summarizing a huge document. Let's zoom in on a code node for a second. Right here, a developer can drop in a specific Python script to handle some really custom logic. In this example, the script is checking a PDF for a specific form type that needs special handling. This gives you basically limitless flexibility for all those tricky little problems that an off-the-shelf tool just can't solve.
And here's the other side of that coin. Instead of writing code from scratch, you're just configuring a pre-built AI node. This one's a validator that uses a large language model to look at some data and make a choice. You're not programming the how, you're just leveraging intelligence to get an answer.
So the real takeaway here is that it's not an either-or situation. It's not about choosing code or AI. It's about having the perfect blend of both, the absolute precision you get from your own code and the broad, intelligent power of AI, all working together side by side in the same workflow. Okay, so you've built out all the logic for your agent. That's awesome. But, an agent doesn't just exist in a void. The next really critical step is defining how it's all going to run and what resources it needs to actually function out in the real world. And of course, before you let this thing loose, you got to test it. Anyone who's ever tried to debug a complex process knows what a nightmare that can be. This execution tab is like your mission control. It gives you this beautiful step-by-step log of a test run, showing you the exact data that went into and came out of every single node. No more guesswork. You can find problems in seconds.
This all lays out a really clear path to getting things deployed. You start with step 1. You build the agent's logic. But, and this is so important, you don't stop there. Step 2 is defining what it needs to run, its infrastructure. And only when you've defined both what it does and what it needs can you move on to step 3 and deploy with total confidence. So how do you define all those infrastructure needs? You use something called a blueprint. A blueprint is another visual map, but this one doesn't show logic. It shows all the external stuff your agent depends on, the databases, the services, the APIs it needs to talk to.
And just like the agent builder, the blueprint is a visual canvas. You can see right here that this workflow needs two key services to work: a Redis cache for super-fast temporary memory and a Postgres database for long-term storage. By mapping it out like this, all those dependencies are no longer hidden away in some config file. They're crystal clear for everybody to see.
All right, now let's pull the camera all the way back out. We're going to bring everything we've just learned together and look at that unified workspace view where this whole journey started.
Remember this? A little while ago, it probably looked like total chaos. But now, you can see the order in it, can't you? You can see the different parts and how they all relate to each other. It's not just a complicated diagram anymore, it's a living map of your entire system.
In this one view, you can see how it all connects. The blueprints are defining the foundation, the infrastructure. The agents are running all the logic we built on top of that infrastructure. Those agents are then interacting with different apps, and the whole shebang is managed and deployed by these automated pipelines. It's the entire ecosystem, right there at a glance.
So, there you have it. We've gone from a tangled, complex idea to a powerful set of building blocks. Precise code, intelligent AI, all running on clearly defined infrastructure, and all visible in one place. It's a whole new way of thinking about building these systems. And that really brings us to the final, most important question. What complex workflow would you build first?